Right, so what we do?
I am not Paul Ross.
Oh, no.
Hey, where is Paul Ross, by the way? He's gone somewhere exotique, I bet.
He's gone to Basra, entertaining the troops.
No, he hasn't.
No, he's in Philadelphia filming Most Wanted Live for Living TV. Oh, actually, it's not for Living, it's for the Discovery Channel. It's a special American version.
He's gone to do what?
You know, he presents Most Wanted Live on Living TV. No, you didn't, but he does. It's a kind of regular, big, kind of cult audience show for Living.
It's very good.
And it got picked up by the States, and now the States want him to present Most Wanted Live purely for American television, so the money's starting to roll in for Paul Ross.
Yeah, they'll back a lorry up to his house with the money that they're going to be paying him for that.
He's got a big house as well.
American TV, good grief. We'll never see him again.
Never.
I mean, they're talking about millions over there. They've got more money than God in American television. Well, that's it. He's never coming back. I mean, why would you?
I would stay. They're paying me that kind of money, I'd stay.
Yeah. Of course, we don't know that they're paying him any kind of money. He could be on a percentage of the profits.
He told me that he was getting paid a lot, but he wouldn't tell me exactly how much.
Now, see, this is a man who works in television, so a lot to me and you, normal people, would think a lot would be, into the thousands. But a lot for TV stars, I mean, that just doesn't even bear thinking about. Huge.
It's Discovery Channel, though. It's not like one of the major networks. But I guess, you know, if it starts, it's got quite a big cult audience already, but if it grows and it gets picked up by one of the bigger stations, then Mr. Ross could be a millionaire. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if he said bye-bye LBC. But then again, I don't want to answer for Paul. But if I was Paul,
that's a terrible thing to say. And you're his radio chum, too.
Yeah, I know. We've worked with each other for 3.5 years now.
See, his agent is right now pulling his or her hair out of their head. You're ruining his leverage.
He doesn't have an agent.
Oh, well, like I said. Agents are busy queuing up at his door. Paul Ross doesn't have an agent.
No, he split with his agent a little while ago. I feel I'm divulging far too much information about Paul Ross, but he's not listening. He's in America, so who cares?
So,
no, he's been looking after his own career for the last couple of months.
Right.
If anyone's got any offers, they can always come through me. I'll take my 10%. Paul won't mind.
It's not 10% these days. I think we're talking about 25%. Agents want 25%, not of just what they get you, but of everything you're earning at the moment that you sign on with them, even whether they got it for you or not.
Agents Is that how much your agent charges?
I haven't had an agent for years. He's a very nice man, but didn't get me any work. Right. The first thing, well, I had, this is it were grand when I were a lad. Just starting out in the business, well, not really, but, bumbling along in my usual fashion, I thought, I'll get an agent, I will, because if there's one thing that I just cannot stand in this business, it's talking about money to bosses. I hate it, and I'm rubbish at it as well. What are you two nattering about? I'm talking.
I was asking him if he wanted to control his own mic rather than me do it.
Oh, right.
It's a bit boring, really.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you shared that with us.
That's okay. You asked.
And what was the answer?
Yes.
He wants to do it himself. Like Paul. This is, exactly, it's a round conversation we're having. And so so I went to this agent and he said, there's one thing that you should know about agents is they don't get you work. To which and I nervously nodded, but inside my mind was saying, "What? Well, what's the point of an agent then if it doesn't get you work?" And he was true to his word. Year after year went by, not a sniff of any work. Oh no, I tell a lie, he did get me one singular overnight show on station called LBC. Now, this is ages ago, under previous management in a different building, when it used to be in that scary ITN building that looks like the Bond villain's lair. In the basement we were, with, the boilers. That's how much we were respected over there. ITN had all the daylight upstairs with the glass fittings and so on, and we were tucked in a cupboard downstairs, as an afterthought. So I got one overnight show on LBC in a previous incarnation, and it was the longest, I think it was 5.5 hours. It was the longest 5.5 hours of my life, because between 1 and half 5 in the morning, there, particularly at that time, because the audience at that time was very old. I do mean old, as in expired. That was an ex-audience. And so between 1 and 5, they're either receiving emergency medical treatment or they're asleep. You know, stroke dead. And I must have got 3 calls in 5.5 hours. From Edith, Ethel, and Fred. I'm making that last bit up, but that was the, you know, as soon as you hear someone's name, you think, oh, Struth, here we go. This has got to be 300 years old. And that was the one thing he got me. 3 halfpenny I was paid. I was glad for it. But apart from that, not a sausage.
And how much commission did he charge?
Well, no, I have to give him that. He didn't actually charge me a bean. But there wasn't anything, you know, 10% of nothing is nothing.
Agents are very different in America. They're real salespeople in America. I mean,
Very
it makes
proactive,
sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, if you're going to make a percentage of what your client makes, then it would make sense to go out and get your client tons of money.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But here it's we're much more laissez-faire in this country. We're not really interested in the subject of money. It's seen to be unseemly. Does that make sense as a sentence? Seen to be unseemly? Probably not. If only I was writing this stuff down, I could have days to, you know, hone each sentence to perfection. Shiny it would be. Instead, it's just a never-ending stream of drivel that just pours out, like that. Which will continue for the next 3 hours, unless you interrupt me. 0870 90 90 973. So he's without agent, eh? And despite that, American television came calling. I bet his old agent's furious. Can you imagine that? It'd be like giving up on a gold mine just as they strike the mother lode.
I know. It's a shame.
So whereabouts has he gone?
Philadelphia. He's filming in a prison, a very famous prison apparently in Philadelphia that's empty now but haunted.
Ah, right.
Apparently.
The City of Brotherly Love.
Yeah.
Why do they call it that? Why am I asking
idea.
you?
Perhaps
The Tom Hanks
perhaps
film?
somebody listening can phone in and tell us.
Yeah. Or not. I'm guessing the latter. I'll just punch him up off the board. Here's Catford. Oh, Trixie. How did that not work? Or did you take her off me? Please tell me what's going on. What happened there?
Pretending.
What happened there, Trixie?
What happened there? Oh, I was talking.
Oh, never mind.
Oh, never mind. Hello.
Hey.
Well, you put the call out, so I had to telephone in. Hi, Nick.
Bless you, Trix.
That's all right. You're welcome. So, what would you like to talk about?
The weather.
The weather.
Isn't it great out
Isn't it
there?
great?
Oh.
Yes. I've been holed up with my cat for the last 3 days.
3 days?
3 days. Well, you know, she won't go out, and she's very clingy, and there's nothing much else I can do. So she's sort of been following me around the flat, and every time I sit down, she's on my lap.
Yeah.
Yes, well done. Yes, she makes noises like that. And then I had a knock on the door. There's a little girl who looked very, very anxious, saying, "I've lost my cat. His name's Rooney." So I...
Rooney?
I know, isn't it sweet? So I...
Rooney?
Yes.
What, after Drain?
Possibly, yes. And so I bravely...
You'd
went
think
out
that you'd
into
call a cat Colleen, not
could.
Rooney. I mean, he looks less
no,
like a
you
cat
know,
than any
that's
human I
true.
know.
You could put a little dress or something on.
More like that giant hog that kid just shot in America. Did you see a picture of that?
I didn't hear about that. Tell
Massive.
me about it.
Oh, well, there's nothing to tell, really. You have to see, you'd have to see the picture.
Oh.
Select a daily paper of your choice,
Yes.
and there's a pig in there the size of, a small lorry that this kid shot with a pistol. And he didn't shoot it once, he shot it something like 8 times, chasing it through the forest.
Maybe
He
we
was.
should get the kids in London to do that, you know, shooting pigs instead of people.
Trixie, there aren't any pigs in London,
Yeah, that's true.
unless you know otherwise.
Remember those pigs that escaped, a few years ago, obviously? The Tamworth pigs, the Tamworth 2, do you remember?
I'd like to say yes.
And they escaped. They were going to the slaughterhouse.
Yeah. Well, you would.
Yeah, well, they were, but they escaped. And they were on the run for days, I seem to remember. And I think they escaped the slaughterhouse eventually, and now they're out in the field somewhere.
No, they're
Probably
not.
near where Lucy used to live.
They just postponed their slaughter. Why do they have to call it slaughter, by the way? Why can't they just put them to sleep? That sounds much nicer, doesn't it? Think about it, Trixie, but I've got to go because we're...
All right, my dear.
All right, thanks a lot, dear. Ta-ta. Yes, less of the slaughter, more of the, retirement. Oh, that's a nice word.
2.
Nick Abbott.
Everything is going extremely well.
Charlotte.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Hey, Charlotte.
How are you?
I am super, thanks for asking.
What's happened to Adrian Allen? Isn't he going to be on anymore?
I don't know.
At the nights? Oh.
Is he on holiday too?
I don't know. I was listening to the radio last night, and who's the one that's doing it? I've forgotten his name.
Asking me a lot of questions, Charlotte. I don't know, I just work here.
Oh, no, I thought you might
I can let you know, Charlotte.
Okay. Here
Oh,
comes-
I think he commutes from outside of London, and doing the overnights, he was finding it all quite tired. So Bill Buckley's going to be doing the overnights for now instead of Adrian Allen, and Anthony Davis is going to be doing weekend overnights. But Adrian Allen will be popping up from time to time on LBC.
Will he? Oh,
That's a comprehensive answer, Charlotte.
Yeah, how do you think about the British weather at the moment, Nick?
You need an A to Z to figure out where you're going with this conversation. You're switching around. It's like a tennis match. I think it's rubbish. How could you think anything else?
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be a nice hot summer, and it's been raining since Saturday night.
Yes, you're quite right about that. They did say, over and over again, since the beginning of the year, they said, oh, well, trust us, we've looked into our pewters, and it says that it's going to be the hottest summer on record. We're going to be...
Well, everybody's gone abroad now, haven't they?
London does seem very empty, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, do you like going abroad?
I can only dream of going abroad, Charlotte. Only top people can afford to go abroad.
Oh, no, you must earn loads.
No, I haven't been abroad in years.
Really?
But mind you, my entire life is a holiday. I barely lift a finger from one week to the next, so I can't...
You don't do anything, do you?
No, not really, no. Even when I'm working.
Take it easy.
Even when I'm working, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, I'd like to go to America, but I'm scared of flying.
Well, you could always...
I want to go to New York. I've always dreamed to go down to New York, and I'm scared of flying.
Why would you want to go to New York?
I don't know. I've never been, and it seems a nice place. Everyone's talking about New York.
So good they named it twice.
Yeah.
It's a bit urban. It's a bit ungreen, apart from the big blob of park-like substance that's in the middle of it.
Yeah.
It's not a particularly nice place.
Oh, right. But I'd like to go, but I'm still scared of flying.
Yeah, well, don't go then. Banstead's probably nicer. You want to take yourself off to Blackpool. They've got a tower.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone to France quite a lot because I go in the car, you know? So you don't have to fly.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm sure there's some way that you could get to America without flying.
Yeah, walk.
Yeah, that's right. You could go around...
the Atlantic.
You could go around the long way, yeah. All right, well, the best of luck with figuring that out, Charlotte.
Okay.
All right, cheers, dear.
Thank you.
Ta-ra.
Bye-bye.
Fears of a bank holiday washout, it says in the papers today, were borne out when up to a month's worth of rain fell in the last day. Struth. They have been banging on about this summer for as long as I can remember, saying, oh, it's just going to break all records. Remember back a couple of years ago when it was 100 degrees, pretty much from March through to November. It was just... We had that little tease of summer, like it always gives us at the beginning, at the end of the beginning of spring, where it shows you summer, and then takes it away again. Pretty much like what we just had recently, except this seems to be quite late to take spring away from us, doesn't it? We had a couple of days last week when it was extra, super, double fantastic, and now we've been plunged back, you can only really describe it as winter. It's awful out there. And the forecast for the next 5 days is bad, followed by bad, and then bad, and it's just, I can't believe it. 2 inches were reported in parts of, this is rain, 2 inches were reported in parts of southern England with cold winds adding to the misery. Yeah, don't they just? Forecasters warned last night that more poor weather was heading in from the Atlantic. Cold northerly winds saw daytime temperatures struggle to top 8 degrees centigrade in some areas. If you still work with old money, that's 46 Fahrenheit, and 40 anything at, what's the date now? It's practically June, isn't it?
28th of May. So, 3 days.
3 days. Now, did you...
Depends
know
if you include today.
Do you know it's 3 days because of your diary, or do you know the rhyme? 30 days, September...
April, June, and November. All the rest have 31, except for February, which has 28, except for 29 in a leap year.
That's not much of a poem, is it?
No.
A spokesman from the Met Office said anyone south of a line from Liverpool to Scarborough has pretty horrible weather. Well, they can often get the weather forecast right if they're forecasting what's happening right now. I mean, if they look out the window, over 50% of the time, they can successfully tell us what it's like at this moment. Anything beyond that, no chance. Because you'll read the 5-day forecast on the BBC weather page, and it's almost always completely at variance, excuse me, with what they're saying on the television. And it's the same information that they're deducing these forecasts from in both cases. So how can, on the one hand, the information tell you that it's going to be a bright, hot, sunshiny day, and on the other hand, exactly the same set of statistics will say it's going to be freezing cold and raining? It just doesn't make any sense, does it? And these are the very same people. This is why I'm sceptical about global warming. Well, one of the two reasons. First reason is we're trusting the accuracy of the forecasts 50 years hence by the same people who can't tell us with any accuracy what it's going to be like this afternoon. Or really, what it was like yesterday. They can't agree on anything. And these are the people who are telling us, oh, you know, there's going to be ice cubes melting in the North Pole. Cubes? Probably not, no.
Icebergs?
Yeah, icebergs. And there's going to be rising water levels because of it. And finches will starve to death or something, I don't know. Or the birds in your garden will come here too early, and the insects that they feed on will have been and gone already. So they're going to starve to death in front of your very eyes. This is what these forecasters are telling us. And as I say, I wouldn't trust them to open my umbrella. Yeah. Just wait till it rains and then open my umbrella, and they would get that wrong. You know they would. They've got no idea what they're talking about. What a giant waste of money the Meteorological Office is. Unless they're listening, of course, in which case they're doing a tremendous job, and on a shoestring, really. It's amazing that they can do the job that they're doing right now. The hell am I talking about? But that's one reason why I'm sceptical about this whole global warming thing. And the other is, I don't want to admit that my actions might have anything to do with ruining the planet, because that would mean changing my behaviour. And I'd rather not, really. 'Cause I'm not a slash and burner. I mean, I'm not out there running the barbecue on a daily basis. But, leaving the car at home and walking... Who wants to do that? Just giving the car up? Once you've had a car, you never want to give it up, am I right?
I've never had a car, so...
Don't get one, because you'll never want to give it up.
Unless you live in the country or something like that, and you need it.
They're exactly right, yeah. No one really wants to take public transport, ever, do they? If you're honest. You never actually want to, you have to. So you're pushed onto it. And that's what, and I don't like those bulbs that save the trees. They're horrible. There's just nothing that I really want to join in with. I'd rather, like America, just put my hands over my eyes and my fingers in my ears. Can you actually do that? Yeah, you could use your thumbs for your ears. And just pretend that everything's going to be all right. It might well be.
And there's a 50% chance you're going to be right if it's the same as predicting tomorrow's weather.
Is it actually 50%?
No, I just made that up.
You didn't know, so you just pulled a number from space.
Yep.
Well done. Jessica.
Hello, Nick.
Hey, Jessica.
You're bringing cheer to a bank holiday Monday there, aren't you?
I am.
I mean, it's chucking it down here in Sheffield, but I'm actually quite grateful for the rain. I don't know if I've mentioned this to you, Nick. I don't think I have, but I've got an allotment.
An allotment?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody had them anymore.
Yeah, I know. well, then you're out of touch, really, because actually, as a phenomena, it's becoming very popular again.
Oh, I read about that in a magazine, yeah. People are buying posh Wellingtons and, everything.
What about getting your, kind of vegetables and pulling them out of the ground and putting them on the plate?
Be honest, do you actually do that?
Well, who knows? I mean, with this kind of rain, maybe, because this is just what I need for my courgettes and my broad beans and stuff like that. We've had the allotment for about 6 months, so obviously this is the first kind of year that we're going to get to see if anything grows. But
and does it cost a lot of money?
It costs £28 a year.
Is that all?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean...
So it's not your land, you're renting it?
Well, I'm renting it, yeah.
For 28 quid a year?
28 quid a year.
How much land do you get for that?
Well, you know what? We've got quite a big plot. We've got...
You could build a house on that, Jessica.
We've got 6 beds with potatoes and courgettes. And
you could have a 6-bed house. You could concrete the whole thing over and actually, make something useful on
my
it.
allotment is in the north.
Like money.
Probably it's only worth about 40 grand.
Oh, right.
In London terms. But yeah, the rain that's happening now, it's crazy, but it's great for me. So quite sort of selfishly, I'm glad that it's chucking it down on a bank holiday.
And do you honestly expect that any of the things that you're growing will be fit to eat?
Do you know what? We've had salad out of there already. We've had spring onions, garlic. I'm quite hopeful about sweet peppers and butternut squash.
Well, it sounds like a pizza meal to me, Jessica. It sounds like a rural delight.
I know you started...
Listen, I've got to go for the news, but thanks a lot. All right. It sounds absolutely delicious.
This Maybach... Well, let's get back to it.
Oh, Edwina.
Hello, Nick.
Hey, Edwina.
How you doing?
I am great, mate.
How's that memory of yours?
I can't recall.
I just wondered if you'd taken any more steps to improve it, because you sound okay to me.
Well, like I said on the week... See, I normally do Saturday nights.
Yeah.
Between 10 and 1 in the evening. And when I did the last one, I think I mentioned that I started doing cryptic crosswords.
That's right.
In the Telegraph. Having always looked at them thinking... Those are for smart people. I can't do those. I'll stick with the quick crossword, which is right underneath it, the one that's just give us another word for.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? Once you start collecting them on a daily basis and then looking back to the previous days to see how their mind works, it suddenly all becomes clear. And every now and again, I complete the whole thing, much to my amazement. I was bouncing up and down in my seat the first time I did that, and I had to tell people.
Very good too. Nick, I'm sure you're not going to do a whole program on global warming recycling.
No.
But just a touch. Government want us to recycle and put these buckets out for wasted food and all this. What really gets me hot under the collar is that why don't they do something about the manufacturers? For example, they're always telling us, don't put your TV on standby. But why are manufacturers still producing televisions with a standby button?
Right.
It doesn't make sense, does it?
Well, the thing with electrical equipment and top-end hi-fi owners will tell you this. Electrical equipment likes a small current running through it all the time. If you unplug... I mean, think of when does a light bulb fail? When you switch it on, right?
Yes.
So it's the rush of an electric charge that I think... Now, I may just be making this up, but I think I'm right in saying that...
you're right, too.
It's the rush of electric charge that that wears the components down. If you just put things on standby, then the small hum of electricity that just that bathes whatever's in there in its glow. now I am stretching the credulity of what I'm saying, but more or less right. They like it, it's like oxygen to them.
Yes. So, why are they telling us not to have our TVs on standby? Because, all this carbon emission, and yet manufacturers are producing these TVs. Why are we having, these Sky Plus machines that you can't switch off? They're still on standby. It's all sort of gobbledygook to me. It just doesn't add up. So, to me, it's just another way, again, of making money out of us, raising our taxes.
Well, the politicians have found, and it's like a holy grail. They've found an issue that no one can say a word against, which not only allows them to look like they're doing a lot for our benefit, but also allows them to tax us without anybody really being able to complain, because it's akin to saying, well, it's for your children. And who doesn't support children? You know, I mean, if you don't do it now, then all of your grandchildren will die, because they'll either drown or they'll be boiled alive with the unfiltered rays of the sun, or so on and so forth. So they can basically tell us to do anything and pay any amount for under the guise of going green. And it's like the golden egg. For them, basically, they've all discovered it anew, because the green thing isn't a new phenomenon.
Concept.
Exactly. It's you could go back to the hippies in the 70s.
Yes.
Who were growing their own.
Yes.
Well, they were growing their own.
And very quickly, Nick, remember the frustrations you told us about your computer provider. We won't go there, but I'm suffering similar frustrations regarding the postal service. Now, my postman is excellent, but because of this variation of the stamps and different size of envelopes, etc., I'm getting notes by the postman saying they can't deliver a letter because there are insufficient stamps.
Right.
And yet, when on receipt of the said letter, it seems to be covered with stamps. I just don't get it. I wonder if you or anyone else is suffering similar problems.
I only ever get letters with windows, which have been, pre-franked for my convenience.
Well, I envisage I'm not going to get any birthday cards on Thursday.
Is it your birthday?
On Thursday, yes. Yeah. I mean, the same thing happened at Christmas. Christmas cards came late, and same sort of problems, and it's driving me crazy.
That's your fault for being so popular, Edwina.
No, just normal, ordinary.
It's not very green of you to have quite so many friends.
No, just normal.
You're going to have to trim some off.
Yes. Anyway,
do it for the environment. All right.
Lovely talking to you, Nick.
Thanks a lot, Edwina.
God bless. Bye.
Ta-da. Yeah, they really have sort of locked onto this green thing as the issue you can't say no to, and it covers anything. And the surprising thing, it was there all along, but people were considering it a bit of a non-issue, really. That's just sandal-wearing, muesli-eating, tree-hugging hippies who thought that way, and now, almost on the size of a sixpence, we, as a people, have turned around and have marched in the opposite direction, which does show you that people power, although we feel very impotent, can make the dramatic difference just by thinking it. We all trudge along and think, well, what difference? It's like me with, I'm not gonna walk to catch the bus, I'll just get in the car. And I'm not alone in that. I refused to feel guilty. But if we all, as a people, decided, for instance, that we didn't want our apples to come in a polystyrene tray covered in plastic, which is ludicrous, really, when you think about it. I mean, the only reason that you would want it like that is that it's touched by fewer people, which is a fairly good reason, because people are awful, let's face it. And it's covered up so that people can't sneeze on it or, do whatever disgusting things it is that they do in public. But really, it's a giant amount of waste, because the first thing that you do when you take them home is throw away the polystyrene thing, and who knows what they make polystyrene out of? Little baby seals, probably. They smash them up into tiny little bits, extrude them through a pipe, and then blow air in them, and that's how they make polystyrene trays. Did you know that?
Cry.
Huh?
You're making me cry.
But I've got no idea how they make them, but it takes some precious resource, undoubtedly, probably oil, right? And it's the first thing you throw away, plus the plastic that it's wrapped in. And I was reading this in a newspaper a couple of weeks ago, if, as a people, we decided tomorrow that at the till we would take the apples out of the plastic tray, leave the plastic tray and the wrapper it came in at the till, and then walk off with just the apples, manufacturers would stop doing it, would stop wrapping them like that within a month. That's all it would take. As simple as that. If everybody just thought the same way, that thought it up and did it, like we've all been grabbed by the green thing, which happened really quickly, didn't it? I mean, it wasn't just the Stern report, which was apparently just a lot of cobbled together facts that were already available. It wasn't new information. He was just writing up what we already knew, basically, but we didn't want to admit to ourselves. So we've all thought... it's almost like on one day, anybody who thinks eco is driving around in a Volkswagen Beetle with a nuclear power no thanks sticker in the back. You know, some stoned hippie who's busy listening to Inner Garda de Vida all day long. And on the next day, it's what we all aspired to be. Such that people tut when you drive by in your 4x4. And the sales of those have gone through the floor as well. They can't get rid of them now. I'm not sure that that's a fact, but the sales of them have certainly plummeted. So all we have to do as a people is think it up and do it. Don't feel that we are impotent and incapable of changing anything, because we have it in our ability to change everything. I'm not sure about the pronunciation of this. Kensington, I'll go for Waynham.
Hello.
Hey, Waynham.
Hello. I just heard the lady before, was it, I forgot her name.
Yeah.
She was telling about the post office, and it just happened to me, that's why I thought I'd call, even though I was driving, I just stopped. I paid £1 for a missing 6p amount on my envelope, which my sister mailed to me, and she used the first class stamp, which she bought before, but the prices must have gone up. And I paid £1.
Well, so all the stamp said was first class?
Yes, hers was first class.
And now it's not first class anymore?
Apparently, it must have gone up or something since you last bought the...
Well, I thought that was... Because I've got a lot of those, but...
Yeah, I've been using them. I'm a bit scared now of using them, actually.
But I thought that was... that's like a cheap money-making exercise. If you go out and buy 1 million first-class stamps just before they go up in price, then almost immediately you'll have made, well, however many... Say it's a 2p increase.
Yeah.
You'll have made 1 million times 2p. Good grief, that's almost 50 quid, Waynham.
But I had a bit of a shock because I wouldn't have even picked up the letter. It was a copy of something. She forwarded it to me and I paid £1 for it.
Well, that's your fault for not going electronic.
So, what do you mean?
Well, you should send it as an email.
No,
Much
she was
more
sending me a letter which she had received and she was forwarded to me.
Oh, right, I get you.
I hadn't even realised what it was till I opened it.
Not completely your fault, then.
It is. But I thought it was really... I mean, for 6p, how can you pay £1?
Yeah.
It was a bit,
it's almost like dealing
money-making.
Almost like dealing with the banks, isn't it? Well, you want to keep the evidence of that, because if the banks are being forced to pay up, they're overcharging, then maybe you can get it back from the post office as well.
Well, apparently they're trying to get out of it now because of that ruling.
I know they are, yeah. They'll wave that in your face first, but stick to your guns. That's what the experts are saying.
But because I've got a friend where I got a letter from which, because you could get all the sample letters.
Right.
And she's trying, but I thought she might back down, because she,
I've been charged a giant amount by my banks over the years, but you know what? I can't really be bothered to go through all of that, can you? I mean...
No, I can't, but I gave it to a friend of mine because she's in real trouble at the moment, no job, no this and that. And
every penny
really
counts.
Yeah.
I gotta go. News is on us. All right, thanks a lot. This is LBC.
If you've been... Nick Abbott.
Hi, honey. How are you?
Hey, Anna. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. This postage thing.
Yeah.
A few months ago, somebody at the post office had this absolutely brilliant brainwave that very large envelopes, the ones you can put paper in without folding it, should be more expensive to send than regular envelopes or half-size envelopes.
Quite right, too.
Exactly. But, so if you put a regular first-class stamp on one of those, it's not sufficient because it only covers a half-size or a small envelope. You can get... I've actually seen first-class stamps that say large on them.
Really?
There's obviously a different set of first-class stamps for large envelopes, but they cost more. I think it's 44p.
How much?
Well, it's 32p for a normal first-class stamp, isn't it?
Is it? I've
I
got
think
no
the ones
idea.
in the large envelopes are 44p.
You could buy a pint of milk for that.
Oh, but it's even worse. They've got this thing now that if an envelope's more than 5 millimetres thick, they charge extra. And I was thinking about applying for a job where I could sit in the post office all day
measuring
envelopes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, get the union rate for the job.
Yeah, no experience required, but you must provide your own ruler.
Exactly.
Well, it sounds like a plan, Anna.
What kind of idiot would even think of such a thing? I mean, you've got to have a really warped brain to think of it in the first place.
Well, the kind of idiot that's running the post office, whatever his
I mean,
name
why
is.
5 millimetres? I mean, if you sent away for instance, any of the booklets you need for things like doing your driving test and stuff, I bet they're all more than 5 millimetres thick.
I bet if you send away for the explanation of the new post office rules, it's more than 5 millimetres thick.
Well, I've got this thing that if a letter is more than 2 paragraphs, then they're not giving you an explanation, they're covering it up. And it's usually true. If it goes on for 2 pages, you know that they're just doing a snow job.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're probably right there, yeah. If it goes on to the second page, they're lying to you.
I know. They're waffling. They're padding it out and humouring you, and they think if they go on long enough, you'll be so blinded by their science, you won't care anymore.
It'd be like marking students' essays at school.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a bunch of words.
Exactly. And the thing is, the longer they go on, the worse their grammar is usually, so it's even less impressive.
All right, thanks for the bad news, Anna.
You're welcome.
All right, cheers, dear. Ta-ta.
Bye.
We have a How Low auction going on at the moment, and we are giving away an HP laptop and an iPod Nanu this Bank Holiday Monday in our How Low reverse auction competition. This is unlike an ordinary auction, when it's the highest bidder that wins. This one, you could technically win it with 1p. It's the perfect piece of kit to stay connected on days like this and to be entertained up to your eyeballs. The lowest unique bid wins, and this competition will end at 11:30 tonight. A fantastic new laptop featuring the very latest Windows Vista operating system. Have you used that?
Nope.
For the technically minded, it includes a dual-core processor. Oh, there. Very good. What is that, then?
It means it's got 2 processors, so it does stuff quicker. It's quite good. I've just got one.
Right, see, it does stuff quicker. That I understand.
Yeah.
An 80-gigabyte hard drive, which means you'll be able to download 80 films illegally. I mean, legally, and put them on your little pewter there. Film's about a gigabyte, isn't it?
Depends what format it's in.
It enables you to play and record CDs and DVDs on the move and to connect to the internet wirelessly. How on earth does it do that?
Magical pixies?
The iPod Nano stores up to 1,000 songs. Isn't that incredible? We used to have a machine that was bigger than a CD, and it could only hold 1 CD. My dad doesn't understand this at all. It's like, he virtually comes out with, what's a mobile phone? You know, anything that's got electricity running through it is a wireless to him. So I just given up trying to explain it. But if you don't know what a Nanu is, it is, well, it's beyond explanation, really. It's just too fantastic for words. It comes in a range of 5 cool colours. It is the ultimate high-tech accessory. To bid, get your mobile phone, or wireless, as my dad would call it, and text LBC plus your bid in pence to 88821. So, if you wanted to bid, for instance, £1.73, that's 173p approximately. So you would bid, or you would type in on your little phone, LBC 173 to 88821. Lines close 11:30 p.m. today. Bidders must be over 16. Bids cost £1.50 plus your standard network rate. See our website, lbc.co.uk, for full terms and conditions. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Where was I? Oh, yeah. We're talking about, well, I don't want to talk about the post office anymore, but these people are ripping us off. But not as much as the banks are ripping us off. Did you see this incredible thing that this company went through the records of people that are paying mortgages to find out whether they were actually paying the right amount? There's a lot of outraged coverage in the papers about this today. And the Mail, as always, is more outraged than any. Homeowners are being overcharged by up to £57,000 because of basic mistakes by mortgage lenders, financial experts claim today. Imagine being overcharged. I mean, being overcharged £1 for posting your letter, that's one thing. Being overcharged 57 grand, that's another. The errors meant some customers were paying too much interest for up to 15 years. The research by Bank Check, whatever that is, an independent financial auditor. That's what that is. You see, you question in one sentence, it's answered in the very next. If only I'd looked. Look with your eyes, not your mouth. They investigated 30 mortgages on behalf of concerned borrowers. Guess what percentage of those 30 mortgages from all different banks were being charged erroneously? That's right, 100% of them. All of them. Guess what percent of those wrong charges were charged in favour of the banks? Correct again, 100%. The firm discovered the interest charged on monthly repayments was wrong in every case and always left the borrower out of pocket. These are the banks. I mean, of all the organisations that are run up and down the high street, which of the organisations would you put your trust in? I mean, which are the ones that have spent the last 100 years trying to engender a sense of trust in their workings? I mean, would you check your change if you came out of a clothes shop, for instance, or the newsagents? Would you trust them absolutely with the change from £1? No, of course not. You would always look, unless, you know, money meant nothing to you. Like Paul Ross probably doesn't look, especially now he's gone to America and is earning shovel loads of money. But from a bank, I mean, they send you your statement, you think, oh, well, it's from a bank, that's virtually the word of God. They must be right. One of the Bank Check's directors has said customers can be overcharged in so many ways, and in many cases we think it's deliberate. The single biggest expense anyone will generally have is a mortgage, and we firmly believe lenders are making even more money than they should. In one of the worst cases, a farmer was overcharged 56 grand by Nationwide as a result of 2 separate mistakes. The problem centre on repayment mortgages. Those are the ones where the amount that you borrowed actually goes down with every payment that you make, and they have to recalculate how much that you owe, and etc. and so on. So it's incredibly complicated. So you're not going to check it yourself. They did, and they found that in every single case it was wrong. And a representative from the bank said, "Oh no, it's not."
Mary, to think they...
So that is quite shocking, don't you think? I mean, do you ever check your statements?
Yes.
Do you? Well, when you say check, you mean you glance at them and think...
Check there's no payments coming out. I don't get any interest because I don't have any money, so...
Yeah, welcome to radio. See, that's why all the smart people are in TV. Hey, how long is Paul going for, by the way?
He's back next Monday.
He's not coming back.
He's back next Monday. He's away all this week.
Does he actually believe in,
No, he plays the role of the healthy cynic.
Ah, right.
So he's kind of the Chris Hawkins to Becky Walsh. You know, who do the psychic show here.
Right.
Becky Walsh is the psychic and Chris Hawkins is the healthy cynic.
Interesting that you would say that you would apply the word healthy to the person that doesn't believe. I mean, she could be the healthy psychic.
That's what all psychics would have us believe. They're the enlightened ones, aren't they? We're stumbling around in the dark.
Yeah, and well, that's the nature of his program, isn't it? Literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
Stumbling around in the dark, waiting for a ghoulie to pop up.
Usually a cameraman who kind of pushes somebody and they go, "Ah, what was that?" It's a ghost.
Of course, they don't actually fix the program, do they?
No, not at all. It's real ghosts.
Yes, in every respect, in every case. Yeah. Well, there's nothing imaginary about the amount of cash that he'll be earning from American TV. We can only dream of such amounts of money. I think I'll sit here and dream about it for the next 3 minutes. Will you join me, boys?
Yes.
This is LBC 97.3 FM. I'm Nick Abbott, in for Paul, and we'll go with the news at 5 and be right back.
Nick Abbott.
Sitting here trying to remember what it was I was going to say, because I know I said I was going to think about money for 3 minutes, but I forgot to do that. And then as soon as I came back, I thought, no, completely blank. That's worrying, isn't it? And me doing cryptic crosswords in order to sharpen my mind, it obviously hasn't had the slightest difference. How disappointing.
I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, I want my money back. I'd like some of those hours back that I spent poring over those crosswords. What a waste of time. Okay, I've got a list of things, and you can choose. Bank holidays are always so quiet on the phones, aren't they? It's like metaphorical tumbleweeds are drifting over the phone lines there. Everyone's left.
I would play a tumbleweed sound effect, but the only one we've got is terrible.
A tumbleweed sound effect?
Yeah.
Tumbleweeds make no sound?
Yeah, it's that kind of whoosh. But it was rubbish, so I went.
British tourists, the greatest... Maybe British tourists. Maybe I hit on the very first one. Of all the tourists in all the world, who do you think is worst? That's right. Us.
I thought it was the Americans.
In what respect?
That depends. Carry on.
Britain's image overseas has taken a battering with a survey claiming that our tourists are, among, not the worst, among the worst. That's disappointing, because usually in any league of shame, we are number one. Which is almost completely the opposite to how we view ourselves, or really how we think others view us, because we have a notion of sort of an Ealing comedy type country where everyone's, polite and wearing a bowler and a furled umbrella and having tea at 3 and, just this British way. But that's actually not what we're like at all. We smoke more dope and we get pregnant earlier and we cause more fights and we're drunker and, stay up late and write on the walls and blow our nose in newspapers, like James O'Brien has on that revolting advert for his show, which makes me cringe every time I hear it. Horrible. Particularly as someone who picks up newspapers on the tube.
It's a cautionary tale.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah. And I don't think that's litter. That's just being green, that is. Leaving not the blowing your nose in it part, obviously that's repulsive. But leaving newspapers so that other people can read them, I mean, that's benefiting the environment, innit? If you just read it once and threw it away, well, how does that actually help? So I think people should leave them on the tube, but you're supposed not to.
I always do.
Well, it just seems to be helping, doesn't it? Particularly if you get on the tube and you haven't got anything to read. I mean, the last thing you want to do, you've got an option. You can either close your eyes and pretend to be asleep, which I sometimes do go to in emergencies, or you can read the advert opposite you over and over and over again and pretend to be interested in it, just to avoid looking into the eyes of your fellow passengers. So if somebody's left a paper, no matter what it is, it's just something to hide in. So I think that people should leave their papers. How did I get onto that? From British tourists. No idea.
I think it was some league table, probably.
Right. Britain's image overseas has taken a battering with a survey claiming that our tourists are among the worst in the world, and a new guidebook pours scorn on the nation's love of junk food and talentless celebrities. Speaking of which, you know what is just around the corner.
I've had counselling, so I can't take any notice of it. It just goes over me. It's like some kind of hypnotherapy.
Does that mean that you're going to ignore it, or are you just going to watch it continuously?
I'm just going to ignore it.
Really?
Yeah. I think even if I watch it, I'll ignore it. You see what I mean?
Won't you even be curious to tune in and see the kind of people that you will be ignoring?
It'll be the same as last year, surely.
A lot of shouty freaks who will play up the moment they get in there in order to get coverage in the tabloids.
That's the one.
There'll be people who divest themselves of their clothes instantly, shouting and swearing and picking fights and basically trying to get some of that spotlight. And you know what spotlight makes? Money.
Back to money again.
Yes. I don't know if I can get myself through another one of those, because I've never watched them before, and then somebody last year, at around about this time, called up and said, oh, you've got to watch it, because everyone will want to be talking about it. And I thought, well, that makes sense. And so I watched it for an entire summer long. Do you know how many calls I got on that subject?
Thousands.
0. Not one. Not one call.
I get, on all the shows I work on as a producer, we usually always get thousands on Big Brother.
Really?
Not necessarily good, in fact often bad, but they come in. I mean, people watch it, don't they? 8-9 million people watch the Celebrity Big Brother, and it went up to 11 during the Jade Goody.
The thing with it is, there aren't any programmes anymore that everybody watches and that everybody can talk about the next day. Used to be, there was only 2 channels, and then 3, and then 4. And then for the longest time, that was all we had. And so everybody pretty much watched the same thing all the time. Particularly when there was just BBC's 1, 2 and ITV. This is why Morecambe and Wise used to get 22 million people watching, despite the fact that, be honest, they weren't that funny.
Nope.
I mean, do you ever see them now and laugh?
Nope.
No.
People over 60 do, though.
And I would question that, because I watched Morecambe and Wise. I wouldn't say religiously, but, you know, I wasn't devoted to them. But like everybody else, what else are you going to do on a Saturday night as a kid? Sit around the box with your parents and just, you know, just hoover up all that light entertainment. And it was amusing, I suppose. Not amusing as in funny, but amusing as in something to do. But actually funny, I would question that. I can't remember ever laughing out loud to Morecambe and Wise. I doubt anybody ever has. It's like Dad's Army. It's just nice to be in their company. There was no golden age of television, really. Any more than there was a golden age of childhood. You're not disagreeing with anything I'm saying.
Complete agreement.
I agree. And I think modern television gets chastised and moaned about a lot, and it's actually very good. There's a lot of good things on TV at the moment. Life on Mars was great. Doctor Who, this 3rd series, I think is pretty good. Now that Billie Piper's gone, I can kind of take it a bit more seriously.
That's an awful thing to say about Billie Piper, the nation's sweetheart.
She's a rubbish actress.
Well, I started watching Doctor Who for the first time in my life. As a kid, I always thought this is a silly programme. I think I made my decision when I saw, I think it was in colour, but it was an early episode. Doctor Who, I can't remember which one it was, went into a tent and didn't come out again. And his unglamorous assistant rushed in and saw that Doctor Who had been reduced to a green pancake that was bubbling on the floor. And her line was, "Doctor, are you all right?" Even as a child, I thought that was daft, and I'm not watching this anymore, I thought. And then, because everybody was just going on and on and on about it, I, in much the same way as I capitulated about Big Brother, I started watching, but I really thought, you know what? It's still a children's programme. I'm not going to waste my time with this anymore. There's no getting around it. It's just silly. It's flashier than it used to be, and the special defects look like they cost a lot of money. They can't have done.
It still looks rubbish compared to American TV shows,
Yes,
though, doesn't it? Which
right.
have kind of, you know, film
A
production
budget.
values.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be that we exported excellent TV to the world, and now we buy it from well, I was going to say everywhere else, but particularly America. I mean, we don't buy any French TV because that's still properly rubbish. They can't do TV in Europe. If you go to Europe, they have the same programme, no matter what country you're in, they have the same programme on in the evening that lasts all evening. It's a programme that never seems to end. And each country has their own type, their own version of it, but it's all the same type. and it's with some fantastically camp guy and like their version of Graham Norton, introducing singers that no one's ever heard of, and talking to people on the sofa. It's basically like a poor afternoon television programme that lasts for 4 hours every evening. And that's the same in Luxembourg and France and Italy and, well, Spain they pause to kill bulls. But apart from that, it's the same all over. Whereas ours is a panoply of rainbow-coloured greatness. No end of amusements. None of which I can think of right now, but that Life on Mars thing, that was way overrated. Don't you think? I'll take that as a no.
Nick Abbott.
So you have to defend yourself there, Martin. The Life on Mars was one of the most overrated programmes I think I've ever seen. And I just gave up on it after a while, in much the same way that I gave up on that New Tricks programme.
New Tricks I've never ever watched, but my parents like it, and I think it's kind of made for their age bracket.
I can't stand just looking at all that crumbling dental work.
It's not very attractive,
It isn't,
at the best
no.
of times, let alone splashed all over your television.
Really, I mean, Jeremy Clarkson, he's a prime example. I mean, he goes on about that gnome who's on the driving show, having fixed his teeth. But really, if you're going to have your head blown up to more than its normal size in someone's living room, then have the decency to not have your mouth look like it's filled with wood. I mean, it's just been polite.
Career never really kicked off because his teeth are too bad.
Jeremy Clarkson.
No, Paul Ross, I was saying.
Oh.
I think he'd have done better on TV if he had better teeth. Have you seen them? Terrible.
I haven't actually seen his teeth, no.
Not good.
But now he's in America, of course. They will insist upon it.
Yeah, that'll be the next thing. You know that he's really serious about cracking American television when he goes and gets his teeth whitened and capped and straightened.
When you can't actually look at him without the aid of sunglasses. Yeah. But the am I right in thinking the guy who played the brutal 70s copper in Life on Mars,
Philip Glenister?
That's the fella. Is actually not a very good actor.
I think it's a real cartoon character, isn't it? I mean, he's kind of magnified every single 70s cop.
Yeah, and in much the same way as you magnify a small picture, it just becomes like
slightly out of focus.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be a bit tongue-in-cheek, and if you watch it with that in mind and,
I did,
and treat it as escapism, it works. It did for me. I mean, but you know,
I just couldn't get past the fact that either he's a really bad actor, or it was written really badly. I suspect it's a lot of the latter. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because I haven't seen him in anything else. You don't know how good an actor someone is until you see them in real life.
He's very posh in real life.
Is he?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, John Thor, in fact. Well, so maybe that's why they picked him, because John Thor, of course he's unavailable for work now, but he used to speak very poshly, and made his name as,
Inspector Morse. Oh, the one in the Sweeney.
Yeah, the unposh one.
Yeah.
Jack Regan. Hey, I can't believe that I came up with that. It must be 30 years since
Your
I
memory's
saw
getting
that.
better.
It is amazing. Well, I can come up with useless bits of information that will never be required for the rest of my life. Jack Regan from the Sweeney. Who's ever going to need that?
Pub quiz.
Yes, all right.
Presenting a radio show when you have to think of who he was.
Right, but in real life, you'll never need it. And that's the sort of information I can dredge up. Useful things like, you know, where I'm supposed to be on a given moment, my PIN number, what my phone number is. People ask me what my phone number is, and I just go blank. So you'll call up a bank, and they'll ask you, to go through, as I did the other day. Oh, Struth. If you ever have a problem with any financial organisation, and you have to contact them by phone, there goes the day. It doesn't matter what time of the day you start. There's nothing that you're going to do for the rest of the day, but hang on the line and listen to Greensleeves for hour upon endless hour. Here's a question. Why do you have to, when you call up your credit card company, punch in your number, which extends to 16 digits, and of course if you get one wrong at the end, then you're going to have to put no matter how long you've been on the line, you have to put the phone down and start again. 16 digits, then you put your, then you press hash, and then you put your birthday in, And then when you finally, going through a maze of complicated alternatives, get to speak to an actual real-life human being, you have to go through the whole process again. What was the point, is my question, of going through all of that mess? Is it is it just to wheedle out the weak?
It could be so that, you know, they go, if you put it in and yours is the platinum card or something, they answer you quicker.
No, they don't.
I bet they do. If you've got a really good credit card, as opposed to me, who's only got a really rubbish one that I never use.
I seriously doubt that's the case. In fact, I doubt that there are different departments. I think it's just hundreds of people all sat in the same room, and no matter what options you choose, whether you want to speak to sales or accounts or anything, it always just goes to the same people.
Even though they won't answer a question if they can't do it. Oh no, you need to phone up this number and speak to that person.
Yeah. And it's just
the same person.
It's exactly the same, yeah.
They probably put on a different voice.
Well, unfortunately, if you have an argument with them, and as happened to me the other day, they just put the phone down on you. How many
Can't
times?
swear. If you swear, they'll hang up.
I didn't swear. I was just they weren't making any sense, because they were telling me to do something that's actually illegal, as far as you know, the laws of their card is. And she knew that I was right, and she just kind of, I don't think she could be bothered anymore. She just hung up. And so this makes you furious, of course, because you've been on the line for, well, it seems like days. And so you want to call her back, him, her, or it, and speak to them again. But, of course, the likelihood of you ever speaking to the same person again is, well, infinitesimally small. And so your anger and your rage, you're trying to hold in, because it's got really nothing to do with the next person that you speak to. But, it's painful to even think back to it. It must have taken, well, at least 3 hours just to get 30 quid of overcharging back, which is not a great rate for the work involved.
How much you earn an hour.
I know.
I sometimes do that when thinking, oh, shall I walk somewhere or something, you know, or go by the bus instead of paying for a tube fare, which would be more. And then I think, well, actually, it's going to take me longer.
If you work out your hourly rate, then it costs me much more than, well, my hourly rate is non-existent, really, when when you're not working, you're not earning, so it's at zero. But, Struth, and it was one of these zero cards, which was the reason I was using it. It will give you 0% on the things that you buy from now until December, it said. So I thought, oh, righto, I'll dig this one out of the cupboard and blow the dust off it and use it. Haven't used it in years. And everything gets paid by direct debit, except for this one, which didn't. And the statement comes, and of course you've been charged because they tried to get the direct debit out and they couldn't, so they charge you for that. They'll charge you for a late payment, and they'll charge you for the interest, which they said they wouldn't do because it was 0% until December, and so you're trying to untangle that mess. Come to find out, after speaking to 3 experts at this credit card company who all insisted to me that they were, I've been working in banking for 10 years and it couldn't possibly be our mistake, they said. Come to find out that if you don't have if you don't use a direct debit, say you've got a credit card and you don't use it for a year, and, if you're like me, you've got 20 credit cards that are all, gathering dust at the bottom of your drawer, just waiting for them to give you a 0% deal, because they all come round every now and again, and you just move the amount that you never pay it off. You just move the amount you owe from one card to the other. You just bounce it around, because it's actually cheaper to put the money in the bank and earn the interest on it than it is to pay it off. Do you know what I mean? Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Do you play that game, bouncing around the money on your cards?
No, I can't be bothered.
Really?
Yeah, I'm too lazy. I've only got the one credit card anyway, so...
Oh, well, then you can't.
Saves hassle.
Yeah, yes. If you don't use your direct debit for a year, your bank cancels it and doesn't tell you. So, in other words, if you start using a credit card that you haven't used in a long while, then any direct debit that you had on that credit card now is null and void. But they won't tell you that. And so you think you're secure in that everything gets paid by direct debit, and a credit card company applies, and you think that you're safe, you're covered, because that's the whole point of getting direct debit, so you never forget anything. But it's not. If you don't use it for a while, they'll just cut you off. And so on and on and on, there's just this nightmare of talking to all of these different people, each of which says, oh, I'm sorry, but we have a policy that we never give money back. Which seems a bit strict without, listening to the facts. That's customer service for you. There isn't any. And eventually, I don't know whether it's just the sound of me on the phone, but I started shouting matches with almost everybody that I spoke to. Not shouting exactly, but just speaking louder so that we can be heard over the other. And I'd be saying something, and they'd just start chipping in, but speaking louder than I am, as though it was as though volume entitles you to, carry on the conversation. Which just doesn't sound like customer service either. And and you're trying to keep calm, particularly as I'd just been hung up on, in a previous hour. So I thought, I've got to keep it together, and because when they put you on hold, you don't know if they're going to ever come back again. And the line goes dead, and you think, I'm actually going to kill myself. I'm going to wind this wire around my neck, and it'll be their fault. You'll be dead, but at least you'll be in the right. And eventually, after what seemed like days, I said to this woman, so if you can't do it, then put me through to someone who can. She said, I'll put you through to customer services. And I said, well, I thought that's who you are. And she said, oh no, I'm customer satisfaction. We both had a good long laugh about that. She seemed to think it was as funny as I did. Oh, but like I said, I need to get out my pills just to mentally going through it again. I don't think I can. Next time it happens, I'm just going to let it go, because it's just not worth my life is being shortened each time I have to contact these people. So anyway, I don't really want to talk about that anymore. I'm getting flushed just talking about it. Fortunately, I brought all of my medicine with me, so I might just be able to make it through till 7 o'clock.
That's good.
Ham. Valerie.
Hello.
Hello, Valerie.
Who's that?
It's Nick. Who's that?
Oh, hi. Oh, I'm sorry. Have I got you on the radio?
It sounds like you. I'll tell you what, Valerie, it doesn't sound like you're quite ready.
Oh, I am ready. I've been listening to you for a long time. The thing is, I have barely ever done this in my life.
Well, I'll let you gather your thought.
Oh, I've got my thoughts. I've just been listening to you, and every single word you have said, and let me congratulate you, because you're not a people pleaser. Everything you say is spot on.
All right, well, listen, that's excellent. Thanks a lot, Valerie.
We just can't win. You can't win, can you? You're on the phone, you get cut off, it's on and on.
I know, and on and on and on, and unfortunately, she's just been cut off. So, as almost 2 million of us have jetted abroad, hoteliers on the continent are all a tremble at the invasion of our badly dressed hordes, because we have one of the worst images abroad of any nation, particularly our tourists. It says here that a guidebook has just come out pouring scorn on us, basically, our love of junk food and talentless celebrities, which is about to be ramped up with the you-know-what that starts on Wednesday. A poll of 15,000 European hoteliers, that's a significant amount, found that British tourists are the 5th most miserly tippers. I'd have thought they would have been way up there. The second worst dressed after, guess who? The Americans, and the biggest, and the third biggest complainers. I'm surprised that we're not number one in all of these things. Only the third biggest complainers. Even British hotel managers found us to be the worst behaved and among the most impolite. So it's not just the French who are, xenophobically putting these tags on us. We're doing it to ourselves. Overall, the UK was voted the 5th worst nation of tourists on the planet. An updated edition of the Lonely Planet Guide, the Guide to Great Britain, was published this last week, also rails against Britain's lack of cultural sophistication. Who, us? The book says it's a telling indictment that more people vote in TV talent shows than for their country's leaders. Well, I don't think that's a telling indictment of us so much as our country's leaders. The guide says great food can be found in Britain. It's just that the British people don't seem to like to eat it. Hey, Richard.
Hello.
Richard.
I was interested to hear you talking about credit cards just before the news.
Yeah.
I'm quite into making money out of credit cards. Over the last, say, five years, I've probably made maybe £2,000-3,000 out of credit cards just by playing that game, by moving. What I do is to get a 0% credit card with 0% balance transfer for 6 or 12 months or whatever. Transfer that to a card, which allows you to pay the money into a current account. So you stick that into the highest savings you can, and then make sure you pay the minimum payment every month. Obviously, that's the first thing I've got to do. And then you have a spreadsheet and you have all the dates when they expire, and then you just pay it off at the end. And then you do it with the next card and so on and so forth. I tend to have up to 10, 15 cards at the peak of the rush of these 0% deals.
Yeah, I've done exactly the same. And haven't you found it more and more difficult to actually play this game now? Because I think they've realised that that's exactly what people are doing, and they've upped the initial charge to switch your money now. It used to be something like, it used to be free, and then it was 1%. Now they want 3%, which if it's thousands of pounds, adds up to a lot of money.
Well, yeah, basically the balance, what you're talking about, and that there is a balance transfer fee, which, as you say, didn't exist before, but now it tends to be between 2 and 3%. So basically it's only really worthwhile when the card is a year or longer, 0% period, because if you're, say, getting the best rate you can, say, on savings, say 6%, after tax, that's like 4%. So that will you'll still be in profit by 2%. So if, let's say your balance was 10,000, you pay your 2% balance transfer fee. That's 200. Then you would make £400 interest over the year.
You know what would make you even more money is if you just spent all of that time working.
if you can get the job.
Yeah, I guess. All right. Well,
they do expire after a year direct debit. That's the rule.
Oh, is that the other thing?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot, Richard.
Yeah.
All right. Cheers, mate. Oh. So, what am I going to do? Am I going to have to give a topic out?
Your show? Yeah, if you want to. Why don't you think of a no-brainer?
It's more your show, really. I'm just keeping the seat warm for Paul.
Presenter is king.
A no-brainer. Is that what you said?
Yeah, something that's nice and easy for people to call in on a bank holiday.
All right. Capital punishment.
That's perfect.
No, not capital punishment.
Please, no.
Who killed Princess Di? How about that one?
Please, no.
How about capital punishment? Those are the only two that I can think of that are absolutely guaranteed to get people... Oh, have you seen a ghost? There's another. Shall we legalise drugs? There's another one. All these topics will get the lines flashing like Fergie's eyes.
How much guess? How about guess how much Paul Ross got paid for? Because I know the figure. Guess how much Paul Ross is getting paid for doing Most Haunted Live.
Being paid by American TV or British TV?
American TV for doing this. He's doing I think it's a 5-hour show.
5 hours.
It's a live 5-hour show.
What?
So it's basically about 2 days' work. I think they go in the day before, they rehearse, then they go in and do a live 5-hour show. But he's just doing the kind of links in between the reports and the people, that psychic investigators who are going out trying to find ghosts. And then it'll be back to the studio for Paul to go, well, that was incredible. We now go to the next psychic reporter. So he's kind of doing the links, holding it together. I make it sound easy. It's a tough gig, but it's a lot of money for effectively 5 hours work.
5 hours work. Over 2 days, I would guess that would be £20,000. I've hit it right in the head, haven't I?
No, you're not even that close.
It's more than that.
It's actually less than that.
Ah, right. Well, thank God for that, because otherwise the jealousy would just be seeping out of our eyeballs, wouldn't it? We couldn't stand it. Much less than that. Well, let's hope so, yeah. Hopefully he's doing it for free.
It's not free. He got first-class return flights as well.
Now, did he
for
say...
him and his wife.
Did he say that, I'm going first class, don't worry about booking it, I'll do it myself, you just give me the money? And then, of course, he goes by boat, or, he'll be in the very last row of the plane, because that's what I would do. I mean, you know, you'd have to be out of your mind to spend £5,000 on a seat, on a comfortable seat for 12 hours. That's insane, isn't it?
You get to lie down, though.
Yeah, but you're still in a screaming metal tube. Inches from death. And it's not comfortable, no matter whether you're lying down or sitting up, or... It just doesn't seem to make any sense to me.
Have you flown first class?
I have, yeah.
Did you not think it was better than flying?
Oh, God, it's absolutely the only way to fly, but as long as you don't pay for it yourself.
Yeah. Or if you're very, very rich, you can pay for it yourself.
Yes, if money meant nothing to you, then there's no way you'd get on a plane and want to sit back with a hoi polloi. No, you'd want to be up the front like I was, drinking champagne.
So how come you didn't pay for yourself?
Oh, because I was working for the company that owned the planes at the time, on another radio station. And I pleaded with head office, please, I said, or somebody pleaded on my behalf. And you get to the check-in desk, and they put, because there's 3 classes on a plane, usually, isn't there? There's cheap, middle class, and upper class. Oh, I've just given the actual brand name, but that's not what I meant. I meant, you know, there's cheap, medium expensive, and super extra double expensive. And they put the medium expensive tags on my bags, and I was deflated, because I didn't know I was going to get upgraded before I got there. I'd been told that the request had been made, and I said, putting my best smile on, which is probably not probably not wise, but I said, what would it take to get upgraded all the way? Wink, wink. And she said, oh, you have been, we just don't have the tags for the bags. And, oh, I virtually exploded with happiness right there in my shoes. And so they start feeding you booze before you actually get on the plane. And if there's one thing that experts say over and over again, the one thing that you don't want to have when you're flying is booze. And the one type of booze that's worse than all the others is champagne. But I don't know about you, if someone offers me champagne, I find it a physical impossibility to say no. I could be on my deathbed. I could have my mouth could actually be sewn up, and I'd still be saying yes. I'd pour it up my nose or something. It's just every fibre of my being seems programmed not to say no to fizzy wine. It doesn't make any sense, really, does it? I mean, it's no better or worse for you than ordinary booze, but I just can't say no. If you drink champagne on a plane, do you know what happens to you?
You get high, you become dehydrated.
That, yes, undeniable. But
wind, flatulence?
Oh, yes. Like you've never experienced before in your life.
Were you sitting next to anyone? In your bed, sleeping next to anyone?
Well, unfortunately, it wasn't a bed at that point. It was just a chair that reclined a lot, which is, no matter how much it reclines, it's still a chair unless it's flat. Unless it's flat, you're still sitting upright. But at least, when it reclines, you can shift your weight from one side to the other, thereby enabling the release of any build-up more effectively. Because if you're sat bolt upright, then there's precious little you can do about it. It's in you, and that's where it's going to stay, right? I had continuous flatulence for the entire flight. It did not stop. Because the bubbles in the champagne, they expand as you'd think, really. If that's the case, then why don't we explode? I suppose they dial it down so that doesn't happen.
You did explode, though, didn't you, effectively?
Yes, metaphorically, yes, I did, yeah. Uncontrollably, all the way. And, of course, the air from first class gets blown through the plane and over the upturned, shiny faces of everybody that's sitting in coach. Which really is a good reason for, no matter how embarrassing it might look, to wear cycle masks whenever you fly. And eventually, because of the diseases that we are all catching off each other, I'm sure that we will all have our own personal little air
thingy.
Thingy is exactly the word I was looking for, yeah. Air thingy, yeah. So that's my advice. Always travel first, always drink champagne, and let people in coach experience the loveliness that is you. Somebody please stop me.
Yes. 7090900973.
A senior Tory MP is paying his son to act as his parliamentary assistant, even though he's still a full-time undergraduate at university. When you were you go to university? When you were a full-time graduate at undergraduate at university, did you have time to do a full-time job as well?
Nope.
No, me either. I could barely had time to get up, brush my teeth, and carry out basic ablutions. But this guy is paying his son £981 a month of our money in order to be his parliamentary assistant. It's part of his parliamentary staffing allowance, handed to his dad, a former government whip. Derek Conway's wife is also on the payroll and is paid £3,271 a month. That's like double the average wage. So that's that seems strange, isn't it? I mean, your son is your parliamentary assistant, and your wife is your secretary. That's called keeping it in the family.
It's a bit mafiosi, isn't it?
Conway, who ran the leadership campaign of David Davis, the Shadow Home Secretary, is the latest MP to stand accused of exploiting the expenses awarded to parliamentarians. And do you know why they do that? Because they can. Unfortunately, politicians are human beings, just like we are. And if we were given a giant amount of expenses, we would spend a lot of it, right? Whether we spent it or not. I mean, if somebody said to you, I'm not going to check, but I'll give you £1,000 a month for travel. Now you can claim none of it or all of it. No one will ever check. How much would you claim?
All of it.
All of it, yeah. Unfortunately, they're human beings, just like us. And this is why, presumably, they wanted to keep their expenses secret. That incredible piece of legislation that they're trying to put through that would exempt them from the Official Secrets Act, which is just, I mean, it's the cheek of it. It's just staggering, really, isn't it? Everybody else has to have their financial records open to scrutiny. I mean, we do. The tax people would be all over us if we tried to keep stuff like that secret. But the MPs wanted to keep theirs beyond the reach of public scrutiny. And then had the nerve to turn around and tell us that the reason they wanted to do this was for our benefit. It's so amazing, really, isn't it? John Prescott is a case in point. After a decidedly low-key 7-day farewell tour of America and the Caribbean, which has been condemned as a pointless junket at taxpayers' expense, it emerged that John Prescott intends to stay on in Barbados for a week's holiday with his family. Before I read this, I had no idea that he was even on a farewell tour. I know that Tony Blair's on a worldwide lap of honour, putting his card around, asking if anyone's interested in an after-dinner speaker, lapping up the applause at our expense. But I had no idea that John Prescott was doing the same thing. It hardly seems worthy of a worldwide lap of honour, does he?
Lap of shame?
One Foreign Office source said Prescott just doesn't care at this stage. He knows this is an outrageous junket, and he knows that everyone else knows it, but his attitude is, bleep them, because I'll be the one that comes back with the bleeping suntan. What kind of language is that for a parliamentarian? MP Prescott and his 8-strong team, 8 people, which includes a special advisor, 2 press officers. 2 press officers? Who even knew that he was there? They're not doing a particularly good job, are they?
Well, it's because they're out there with him. Their emails.
A speechwriter. I don't know about you, I never go anywhere without a speechwriter. Don't you find it a little outrageous that they use speechwriters? I mean, it's like an author using somebody else. It's like Jodie Marsh, in inverted commas, writing her book, but using a ghostwriter to do it. Because we believe that the words that they're saying are what they believe, but actually it's almost got nothing to do with them. They're like a newsreader, just reading the stuff that comes up on the auto cue. Hell, I could do that. I'd do it for the expenses, never mind about the actual salary. Mr. Prescott and his 8-strong team, a special advisor, 2 press officers, 2 private secretaries. Who the hell needs 2 private secretaries, particularly for a man who doesn't actually do anything? 2 secretaries, a speechwriter and 2 bodyguards. Well, no, here's a man who doesn't really need a bodyguard. He is his own bodyguard, isn't he? He's got form. We've seen that. They stayed in 4- or 5-star hotels all the way. And you know, in your heart of hearts, that if they stayed in a 4-star hotel, it's because there wasn't a 5-star hotel where they actually wanted to stay. In Philadelphia, hey, everyone's going to Philadelphia, where Mr. Prescott's engagements include a 15-minute speech and an informal tour, in inverted commas. They stayed at the Rittenden House Hotel, rated by Traveller magazine as one of the world's best. Well, I'm glad that he was comfortable. Who paid for that? Oh, yeah, that's right. We did. And the cheek of it is staggering, really, but they know that no one's really going to do anything about it. Even if they print it in a newspaper like this. This was in the Telegraph the other day. Even if all the newspapers are outraged, they're still going to do it anyway, because we, as a people, will read it and we'll shrug our shoulders and go, oh, well, that's just politicians for you. And we won't do, and nothing will be done at all. And so they can do anything they like, really, because we seem utterly apathetic about everything except Big Brother.
I think we feel powerless.
We do, but as previously explained, we have all the power. All it takes for us is to just use it. In the Caribbean, they passed up free Foreign Office accommodation. And you'd think that Foreign Office accommodation, wherever it is in the world, is going to be of the top, is going to be of the highest order. I mean, they don't stint on their own accommodation without money, do they? The Foreign Office, they've got no end of cash. They almost don't know what to spend it on. But free accommodation wasn't quite what they were looking for. So they stayed at the Hilton. Prices at the Hilton range from $315 to $700 a night. I bet it goes for way more than that. Because if he checks in, I'm John Prescott, would he want a room? No. He would want the presidential suite, don't you think? And if that's available, if Mick Jagger happens to be in town and he's got the presidential suite, then he'll want at least a family suite of rooms beneath it. Mr. Prescott did not look very happy on his final foreign trip. Well, it's just the way his face hangs. At Baltimore Airport, witnesses said he created a scene in front of airport staff when he swore and shouted at one of his team over a minor oversight. Oh, I thought he was such a nice man. A spokesman for Mr. Prescott said, "Oh, no, it's not." Great.
Nick Abbott.
I want to show you something.
I want to show you the list of things that I've talked about so far. Can we remember any of them? Well, I talked about politicians and their wasteful behaviour at our expense. We've talked about global warming. Chip in.
Credit cards.
That's right, credit cards, things that affect us all. Yeah.
Stamps.
Stamps. Yeah.
Life on Mars.
Oh, yeah, okay, life on Mars.
Mortgage lenders overcharging customers.
Mortgage lenders, yes. These are things that affect everybody.
British tourists.
tourists, yes, tourism in general, yeah.
Paul Ross's fee for doing his first big American TV job.
We talked about Paul Ross, the man who normally does this show.
The amount that agents actually do.
Agents, yes, that's right. Everyone in show business either has or has experience of an agent, yes.
And John Prescott, spending our money.
Okay, John
As
Prescott.
he travels the world in 5-star luxury.
Nice work if you can get it.
Yeah, you sound really upset about that. We talked about the weather. Good grief, there's a big one. Everybody's got an opinion about the weather. It's all we talk about in this country. So there's 20 subjects, which include public life, private life, finances, weather, the thing that affects every one of us, global warming, we've talked about, the thing that will affect each and every one of us directly or not, as the case may be. What else have we talked about?
That's about it, isn't it?
No, there's much more. Because with every topic, there's always 4 subtopics.
Picking up the newspapers on trains.
That you just drift in and out of.
I was making a coffee when you talked about that.
Ah, right. We never want to miss a second of this super show. Papers on trains, yeah.
What about papers on trains, whether or not you leave them behind or take them with you?
Yeah, recycling,
the
that's
James
right.
O'Brien. Oh, yeah.
Did you reach any conclusions on that?
Well, just that we're really slightly disgusted by that trail to James O'Brien's show, where people keep talking about blowing their nose in a newspaper. And
But
then
we like the music on it, so
leaving
we
it
just
on the
listen
seat.
to that.
That's pretty grim, isn't it?
It's vile.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why the people who pick the rubbish up at the end of the line have those
clippers
things that you pick up so they don't actually touch any rubbish.
No, well, you wouldn't want to.
No.
So that's...
so who blows their nose in these papers? James O'Brien does, or his
certainly
listeners?
not.
Someone that called in said they saw someone. Doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that, to my mind, is getting on for 30 topics.
You can just talk about everything.
Not one single one of which has gained a scintilla of a response. Is it that no one is in London anymore?
I think people have had long weekends and are listening passively. So they're hanging on your every word and enjoying it, but not necessarily wanting to pick up the phone to talk.
Right. Well, it seems, you know, when you do a show like this, that may well be the case. And if you could see them visually, then you'd feel warmed by that.
He's
Well,
already.
that's too late
Lines
now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're all going mad now.
Yeah, too late now.
You've got another hour.
Oh, Struth, don't say that. All right, well, when we come back, the response is just going to be, well, overwhelming would be one word for it. We'll be consumed by a waterfall of it. Can't wait.
Nick Abbott.
No time for the old in and out, love. I've just come to read the meter.
To recap, recycling, papers on trains, weather, John Prescott, agents, politicians in general, and the money-grubbing manner in which they relieve of us our cash, global warming, credit cards, stamps, life on Mars, mortgage lenders, tourism, and Paul Ross himself. Got to be something in there that you want to talk about, no? No. It's like pulling teeth. People warn me about doing Bank Holiday Mondays. Last time I did it, right enough, I had a topic, which was 50 Greatest Britons. Who do you think it is? Which, you know, gives people, oh, I know, calling about that. Hey, Joan.
Hello, Nick.
Joan.
I didn't know you'd done global warming already this evening.
Oh, I've done everything. You name it, I've done it.
It's a good list, isn't it?
Huge.
But then, you see, it's great hearing you have the grumbles. It's so good hearing you have the grumble, you think, oh, maybe I don't need to grumble.
You're
And I
living your
do
life vicariously through me.
Yes, that's right, because you do such a good grumble. But I just think I have to phone up about the global warming now. I really do, because...
Yeah, there isn't any. It's freezing out there.
It's not only is it freezing out there, but there was this man on a couple of nights ago in some program or other, American, and he said, this business about, oh, well, actually, you're going to freeze to death. We're all going to freeze to death because the global warming will melt some water, and the water will push away our Gulf Stream.
Yeah, the Gulf
And we
Stream,
will be ever so cold. Now, we cannot be freezing to death at the same time as frazzling to death,
No,
can
you're
we?
right, yeah.
No, we can't do it.
That seems like they would cancel each other out and would be a happy medium.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much exactly how we are right now.
Exactly. Oh, and it is freezing. And nobody says, oh, well, maybe we've got it a little bit wrong, or, well, actually, you were supposed to be ever so hot, or... nothing. No, they just keep quiet until the next time we have a hot day. One hot day, and then it'll be, oh, yeah, global warming.
Yeah, you're right. They'll keep stum at the moment. You won't hear a single word about it.
Yeah.
And then, as soon as it starts to get warm again, they'll be, I told you so.
Yeah, I think they say to themselves, oh, they're going to have a spell of a few hot days, so we'll get this campaign running. You know, get everybody worked up, get this big campaign going for something or other, raising money and God knows what, and making us have less of this and more of that. And then, we'll get that over in a few days and get that up and going. And then we can, once it's up and going and it turns cold again, we don't have to do anything. Do you see what I mean?
You've given it a lot of thought, Joan.
Well, I've had a little bit of time listening to you, haven't I, giving it thought? I mean, you get us going, and then once the mind has got going...
Oh, there's no stopping it.
No stopping it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing the ironing, and that's the worst thing for getting your mind going.
The ironing?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yes, because I tell you what happens. There's one level of your mind that is activated, which allows the other bit of your mind to come up above it.
So it's
physics, psychological thoughts.
It's a repetitive action that needs no thought.
Yes.
It's just over and over and over again. And it's like meditation, I suppose.
It is a bit. I always found over the years that I did my best thinking when I was ironing. I did. I really did.
I never iron anything.
Oh.
Ever.
Oh, it must be awful.
This...
Is it awful?
Is what awful?
Well, not getting some nice duvet covers and not having
You
nice
don't iron your duvet cover.
I love it when it's ironed. I don't iron the underneath, actually. You know the underneath bit next to you?
Yeah.
You don't have to iron that because nobody sees that. But if you walk into the bedroom and the duvet cover is ironed, oh, it's so nice. It makes me feel really good.
I thought that you meant that ironing the whole of it made you physically feel good rather than just proud.
Oh, no, I don't like it. No, I like
because when
the
you
effect
flatten
of afterwards. Afterwards is good.
Because when you flatten the fibres of a material,
Yeah.
then it does feel nicer against your skin. I'll give you that.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
But if you don't...
And it looks good in the bedroom and wherever. And on your body. I mean, a T-shirt on your body,
Oh, don't be disgusting, Joan.
What? Because I said body.
It looks good in your bedroom. Who's going to see that?
I do. Well, anybody else that wants to have a look, of course.
Come in and take a quick peek.
Yeah. Look at my bedroom. It's seeable today. Come and have a look. My bedroom is okay today.
I absolutely will not do that, Joan.
No, I didn't ask you. You are bold. But I like you.
No, I get through my life without ironing anything. I mean, look at me.
Well, I'm worried about that, I mean, seriously, do you not iron shirts? Or does nobody iron your shirts or whatever?
Well, I've got a lot of shirts. In fact, for a while there, I had some sort of disease where I would just go out and buy a lot of dress shirts to go with all the suits I don't wear.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, I never wear them because once they're washed, they are in an unironed state. So they just hang in the cupboard forlornly.
Oh,
I've worn them once when they were new, and then since they've been washed, I'll never use them again. Because there's nothing I hate more than ironing, but I had never considered it in the form of therapy.
Well, if you think about how your deep thoughts are going to come up while you're ironing, then that might do you good, you see. You might find a whole new level of thinking.
But only if your deep thoughts are positive. What if there's a raging inferno inside?
Well, it's best out. It's best out than in, isn't it?
I suppose so, yeah.
Yeah, because
in effect,
otherwise your little heart suffers, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly my problem.
Suffers.
Yeah. The problem is that I am externally too nice. So I'm internalising all this rage and hatred and giving myself a tumour.
Well, not while you're on the radio, you don't internalise it. You're getting a lot out on the radio.
And my heart, it resembles a raisin now. It's approximately the same size, and...
Have you tried a little bit of vinegar in the water?
What?
Well, I was just thinking, maybe you've got something that would benefit from drinking a little bit of a teaspoonful of vinegar in some warm water, a glass of warm water every day.
Why?
Well, because it's really, really good for so many different things.
Like what?
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, you're not... have you bought that book, 1,000 Different Uses for Vinegar?
Well, I was given two, actually, but I've been interested in vinegar since, years and years and years.
That sounds like... I've never heard that sentence before. I've been interested in vinegar for years.
Well, I remember years ago, I used to get terrible sunburn because being ginger-haired and freckly, you know, terrible.
A ginger, right.
Thank you. That was very nice.
No, that's not an unnice thing to say.
Oh, it's not.
A ginger.
It sounds bad.
Does it?
It sounds bad. Oh, well, it's all right,
you're a
then.
ginger, I'm a ginger,
everyone's
a ginger.
No, well, anyway, I'll look upon that as all right.
Yeah.
And anyway...
Would I insult you?
What?
I wouldn't say a bad word against you, Joan.
That's nice. Yeah. And so I used to come in after all this sun, and red as a beetroot, you know, I thought, I should have done something about that. I'd splash on the vinegar.
You'd splash on vinegar?
Just dab it on. Next morning, a tan. No burns, nothing. No peeling, nothing.
I've never heard anything like it in my life.
And that is truth. That is truth. It's great for burns, you know, sunburn, ordinary burns, infections, bites, mosquito bites. Endless things. And it works in the blood to do all sorts of wonderful things inside as well. Have you not got the book then?
No. But I bet it makes you taste.
Oh,
lovely.
Well, no, it's really very dilute, you see. Very dilute. So you're all right. And I put sugar in mine, of course. I mean,
there's nothing
everything.
I enjoy more than a couple of pints of vinegar and sugar.
No, if you take 3 sips in the morning.
Yeah, sweet vinegar.
3
My favourite.
3 sips in the morning, 3 sips at night before you go to sleep, and it's really good. It does wonderful things. So, you know, you said you got a problem of some sort with your heart. I don't know what kind of a problem it is, for heaven's sake.
Inches away from death on a daily basis, Joan.
Yeah.
But don't let that concern you. I don't talk about it much.
No, oh, dear. I think you really need these grumbles every day, because, you know, when I first heard you speaking, I noticed that your words came out like through clenched teeth.
It's the pain,
and
Joan.
I thought, this man is holding back a lot of anger or something.
Right. I've got to let it out. So, vinegar is the thing you say. I've got to go now, Joan. But honestly, do you think I lack vinegar?
2 out 973.
Nick Abbott.
And remember, darling, I don't work before 10 in the morning and never after 4:30 in the afternoon.
You know these ridiculous programmes that they have on probably Saturday night? I try to avoid it. Saturday's my big work day. They are choosing people for musicals. There's 2 of them. I think they're competing with each other.
Oh, yes.
There's Joseph and Grease.
Any Dream Will Do, and Grease is the word.
Is the correct answer.
Thank you.
If I told you that there was going to be another one, like a copycat show, to choose the John Travolta character in an upcoming performance of Saturday Night Fever, which channel would you think would stoop low enough to put that on? Living TV, you'd think, something like that. It would be Sky One, perhaps. It is BBC One. Isn't that shocking?
Really? When they've done Sound of Music, now they're Joseph, and then that would be the kind of automatic next step, wouldn't it? Would be Saturday Night Fever.
Well, but by automatic, I think you mean thought-free next step.
Yeah, obviously thought-free.
Anybody can program a TV channel now. You just think, well, what have we got on now? I'll have another one of those.
Format works, though, doesn't it? They're getting quite a big audience by today's standards. I mean, you were talking earlier about how things like Morecambe and Wise would pull in 20, 25 million viewers. And now, if you look at any Dream Will Do, it's considered a success. And it's pulling in kind of 7 or 8 million, and that's a big TV audience now, is 7 or 8 million.
Yeah, but
it's a big drop, isn't it?
Well, yes, but what I would suggest is that the term success depends on very much on how you define success. Like, to me, a public-run organisation, if it's a success, it's a good programme, not necessarily a lot of people watch it. If you put Hanging on TV, a lot of people would watch it. Would that make it a success? If you put live footage of the changing rooms in Topshop on television, that would get no end of viewers.
Which channel is that on?
Well, it's bound to be on some channel eventually, isn't it? Because they've done everything else. Well, that is essentially what Big Brother is. And they're ramping up the sex quotient this year by putting in, we've already heard there's nymphomaniac bisexual, which really gives them, an opportunity both ways. If they don't like the blokes, then they'll go for the wit. But they're increasing the excitement about the level of sex that's going to be in Big Brother this year. But you know, in your hearts, that no matter if it was a 24-hour bonkathon, you won't see a single centimetre of it. They won't show it you on TV. They won't show it you on the best of. They won't show it you live. Even if you go onto the net for the full coverage, they won't show it you there either.
They might release it as a DVD further down the line once the series is finished, that they can
the
make
bits
some
we
money
couldn't
on.
show.
Yeah, exactly. Big Brother uncensored.
Have they done that in the past?
They have, yeah. Yeah.
And is that actually included nudity and sexual activity?
There'll be a little bit of T and A.
Can't believe you just said that.
What, the letter T and the letter A?
Yeah,
like Sesame Street.
Unless you actually mean a cup of tea and a biscuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? What did you think I meant?
I've got no idea. My mind's a blank.
It's that memory again.
But it is. I think I've kind of like given up now. I mean, when was the last thing you watched on BBC One? It's just become I don't understand the point of it anymore.
Life on Mars.
Right.
And that was the first thing I'd watched for a long time.
Yeah, a long time. Yeah, and I gave it quite a few episodes before I thought, I really want it to be good, because I'm enjoying all the old references, because I grew up through the 70s. I had no idea it was so gloomy. It does seem brown, doesn't it? Brown with flashes of orange. But at the time, it seemed to be multicoloured to me. So I was, sucking in all those references to Blakey's. Do they still have those? And, Spangles and all of that stuff that they were dredging up. That was enjoyable. But after a while I thought, you know what, this isn't written very well. And it's silly, more to the point. I mean, is he in a coma, or is he dead, or what the hell's happening here? And I just didn't care after a long while. I came back for the last one, right enough, because you've got to know what happens. And, so what happened in the end? He killed himself to go back in time. Explain that to me, logically.
But if he was back in time when he was in a coma, if he kills himself, then
he's going to be dead.
That doesn't. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't mean that he's going to go back to the 70s and carry on and pick up where he left off.
So he made the calculation that if he jumps off, because he jumped out of a building, right?
Yeah, he jumped off the top of the building.
Right. So he made the calculation that it was not quite tall enough to kill him, but not a short enough drop that it wouldn't put him in a coma.
But he has to be safe in the knowledge that his family don't turn off his life support machine. If he's been in a coma for years, I might just think, well, let's just turn him off.
Yeah.
And that'll be the end of his life in the 70s.
Mm.
Just at the point where he finally gets it on with the woman in the 70s, which is why he went back, because he fell in love.
And this is a programme that you're supporting, is it?
Yeah, I loved it.
It's essentially silly, really. And after a while I thought, either they're all really bad actors, or it's really written terribly well. Not terribly well. I just couldn't be bothered with it anymore. And that was my one enjoyment of something on BBC One for I honestly can't remember the last time I watched anything there.
Did you watch that Panorama?
BBC One Breakfast News. I watch that on a daily basis because it gets my blood going. Because, you know, sometimes you wake up in the morning and you're not sure whether you're alive or dead. Particularly if, as me, you're just seconds away from death at any time of the day or night. So in order to get my system going, I watch the BBC Breakfast News and I'm furious on a daily basis. It's like the news as done by Blue Peter. It's just silly. Anyway, that gets me furious and it almost kickstarts my heart in the morning. But anyway, the next mess that is coming your way, courtesy of your money, features... Oh, God. Does it have to be always him? Graham Norton. I mean... Defend Graham Norton to me. I double dare you.
No.
Any Dream Will Do host is expected to front a TV talent search for a wannabe to play a role in an upcoming stage production. How did they come up with that? These geniuses that are paid hundreds of thousands of pounds of our money to come up with excellent programme ideas, and the only thing they do is they buy the TV Times and they say, right, we'll do that. If it's successful on your own channel or somebody else's, what they do is they just copy it. Doesn't seem worth the money, really, does it? The £100 million it costs to run it. BBC One chief Peter Fincham, for it is he, is already in talks with Saturday Night Fever's producer Robert Stigwood, who owns the rights. A BBC source says he's very keen to get the show. Well, you'd think so. Because if you're going to put on a stage musical, like, what's his name? That guy with a weirdly frozen face and the funny hair is doing Joseph right now. What's his name? Or is it Grease? Andrew Lloyd Webber, yeah. It's free advertising, isn't it? I mean, you couldn't get better advertising than that. Week after endless week, and the papers are on about it as well, and that alone, you'd question the legality of it. It's just one giant ad.
Apparently, the Grease production, which is going to be starting this summer, has already sold £5 million worth of tickets.
Yeah, and how much... And Grease is the one that's on the BBC, right?
Yeah.
And how much of that...
No, Grease is ITV.
Oh, okay.
Any Dream Will Do, which is the Joseph one, is BBC. And apparently they haven't sold as many tickets.
Well...
But they've got a higher TV audience. Because they're both on at the same time and they're both battling out to see which shows are most successful.
Well, that's
Grease has sold more tickets but gets a lower TV audience.
So is that a poor reflection on the quality of the Joseph musical?
Yeah, they can't be bothered to go out there and buy the tickets.
But they just want to see people fail to get a part in the show.
Yes.
That's just, I don't understand this.
It could be that the audience for the BBC One is a bit older and maybe doesn't want to go spend money on a ticket.
As much as they used to.
Whereas the ITV audience is probably a bit younger and, you know, kind of 20, 30-somethings that have never
But they
seen
don't
Grease
go
before.
to the theatre. You go to the theatre and it's like going to a geriatric ward. Everyone in there is older than you. So I don't really understand that. I don't understand the concept, other than it's the same mindset as X Factor and all those daft programmes, where actually the programme isn't about finding a singer at all, and these the Joseph and Grease isn't about. It's being sold to us as a search for talent, but that's not it at all, and neither is that why anybody watches. People watch it for the same reason that people watch the that silly You're Fired game, which is also on the BBC, which is also a copy of another programme exactly like it on a commercial station in America. People don't watch it because they're interested in business. People don't watch the X Factor because they're interested in singers. They watch it because they're interested in people being humiliated that aren't themselves. Just like the You're Fired game. It's having a psychotic boss shout at you, except it's not you. You're getting your vicarious pleasure by the victim not being you, but being somebody else. What a strange people we are. iPod. Belsize Park. Oh, Judy.
Hello?
Judy.
Oh, am I on?
It sounds like you.
Oh, sorry, I thought I'd go through the... Anyway, Sorry, right. You're talking about these shows where everybody votes.
Yeah.
I find something very, very odd with all this. I find it really odd that a huge West End production that's costing millions, the director of the show apparently has no input and no say into who is playing the lead role.
Which you'd think would be the most important thing about the entire production.
Well, from what I know of the theatre, which isn't a great deal, but I cannot imagine that the leading role is cast without any input from the director, or am I being stupid?
Well, what it tells me is that the free advertising is worth more to them than actually getting somebody who's any good in the lead part. Because once the free advertising kicks in, then people will go and buy the ticket, and once they've bought the ticket, well, that's it. I mean, if you put Elaine Page, for instance, I mean, she's the only sort of theatre name I can think of off the top of my head, then people will go just because it's Elaine Page.
Of course.
But if you saturate them with advertising, with hour-long TV programmes and all the coverage that goes with it, then people are going to go out and buy the tickets anyway. So it's almost like they almost don't even need to put a show on.
But if you've got a really reputable director who has got a reputation to think of, how would he or she want to be associated with a production where, for instance, the leading man or the leading lady can't sustain 8 shows a week?
Yeah, it's just some dope off the telly.
So how does that work? I've never heard anybody actually question the directors of these shows. I know they have the producer on some of the panels, but the producer isn't actually directing. No,
all the producer is concerned with is bums on seats.
Yes.
Yeah, because he's the one with the money. Yeah, now that's interesting. I wonder if the hierarchy of directors in theatre is anything like it is in the cinema, of course, because it doesn't matter how great a director you are. If your last film was a flop, then no one wants to work with you anymore.
Well, the one that has actually gone on, which is the only one I can talk about, is The Sound of Music.
Yeah.
There is a very reputable director on that, and a very, very reputable choreographer. I cannot imagine the first morning of rehearsals they say, here you are, Mr. Choreographer and Mr. Director, or Miss, here's your leading lady.
Yeah, I bet that they are privately fuming, yeah.
Well, either they're privately fuming, or how honest are the votes that come through? I mean, how do we ever know who voted for who?
Right. Well, yeah, that had occurred to me as well.
I've got a nasty, suspicious mind, but I also haven't got enough money to have a libel suit against me. But
I think the same about those, about the singing shows, X Factor and all that lot. I'm sure it's all legal, decent, honest and true, but I bet that the producers of those programmes, like Simon Cowell and all that, I bet they've got people that they would prefer rather than others, because you'll make more money with some people than with others.
Well, it could be possible, and not in the circumstances which I've just described, but it could be possible that somebody who is deemed to be thought to be capable of taking the lead in the West End takes part in this show and miraculously wins it.
Yes. Well, there's ways without cheating with the phone voting of persuading the public to vote one way or the other, and Big Brother is a prime example of this, because some contestants will be more interesting than others, so they just edit the footage in order to manipulate the audience into voting for whoever they want to stay in the house.
Well, I can't talk about Big Brother because it is such... I can't watch Big Brother, sorry.
Well, I was like that as well, like I said, until last year when someone ruined my year by calling up and saying, well, you've got to watch it because people will want to call in about it all the time. And so I did for the first time. And unfortunately, once you see one, you find yourself hooked. It's like visual heroin, Judy.
Well, I'm very pleased in that case that I don't have your job. Because I couldn't cope with that. That's a step too far.
And I'm wavering as to whether I should watch it again this year. Because if you're on the air and you want to talk about things that are going to get people hot under the collar, then that's got to be the prime topic of conversation over the summer period.
Well, no, you could actually have your programme as a Big Brother free zone, and you might actually get more people listening.
Yes, That's an interesting thought. And in that way, I'll be able to save at least an hour every day.
Well, no, I mean, people who wanted to talk about Big Brother, there's enough other presenters they could talk to, and then you could have a Big Brother free zone, and we could phone you for other topics.
And my mind wouldn't be clogged up with the daily machinations of these shouty people that are on TV.
Yeah.
I'd become a better person.
Yes.
It's something to think about.
But these West End shows now, quite honestly, it's what I'm starting to think of as a funny expression called amateur night on Wigan Pier. I don't really want to spend £55 on a theatre ticket to see an amateur. I'd like to see a proper professional in part.
Yeah, you're right. But I think that these people who are rushing out and buying the tickets to Grease and Joseph aren't ordinary theatre goers, are they?
No, I think what they feel, they're getting a sort of vicarious pleasure. They feel as though they're almost part of it.
Yes,
because
exactly.
that is who they saw on television.
On telly, yeah.
They followed it through, they've watched them.
They voted one way or the other. They feel like it's their child up on stage.
Well, it's a vicarious pleasure, isn't
Yes.
it? Oh, look, that's who we saw on the telly.
They have invested a part of themselves in the show, and I don't think that they're the kind of people who would go to the theatre ordinarily.
No, probably not.
They're the kind of people, and if you don't go to the theatre ordinarily, you'd go up to the box office and you'd ask for 2 tickets, and they'll say, that'll be £110, please.
Well,
and you'd say, what?
Well, that's why I'd rather see... I mean, also, sorry, I'm taking up a lot of your time. On television, I just sometimes would like to see something written, produced, directed, and performed by professional people.
Actually written down, like a script, you mean?
Yeah.
A story.
A play with real proper actors and actresses taking part.
Well, we can wish for it, Judy, but I wouldn't hold your breath.
Oh.
But thanks a lot, all right.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers,
Bye.
ta-ra. Yes. I remember in the good old days, people used to actually write things down before they went on air on a TV show. Well,
can you play the olden days music while you do that?
No, I'm sorry, only once per show.
Okay.
But you can just play it in your mind, pretend I'm doing it. Yeah, people used to actually fine-tune a script. Now they just point it in the face of some dopey fat bird who's shouting about kebabs. She's not going to go back in the house. I mean, they wouldn't. Of course, it would get them a lot of publicity, and they're not averse to doing things, to getting themselves a lot of publicity, like this Princess Di thing. I mean, if you come along and you say, I'm going to show photographs of the car, regardless of whether it's inside or outside, or you can see anything, and people are going to start shouting about it, and now it's top of the news. And so, of course, when they show it, it will get a giant audience, and they'll be able to charge advertisers a huge amount. What, by the way, is the point of having a photograph of somebody and then digitaling out the person? I mean, it doesn't make any... What's the point in actually showing the photograph at all? It doesn't seem like an honest answer. Oh, well, we're going to show it, but you won't actually be able to see anything because we'll mask it out. Right. Well, what's the point of that, then? If you can't actually see what the photograph's about? Doesn't make any sense. But then precious little does make any sense to me these days. I almost feel like a stranger in a strange land. Like you've, landed on a different planet. Am I alone?
Depends which planet you've landed on, I guess.
Planet Strange. I mean, everything seems to be a bit off-kilter to me. I don't get almost everything I see on TV. I just don't get it. I don't get anything that's popular. I do feel out of kilter with the God, I'm going to use the Z word. With the zeitgeist. Get me a dictionary.
Spirit of the times.
Yeah, exactly right. Because everything that's popular, everything that's number one, everything that's the most bought or consumed or watched of its type, I think, well, I don't get it. I do feel out of tune with the rest of the population, and is it? I think that it's them that everyone else is making the mistakes, not me.
What do you get then?
Well, I get things that get almost no audience at all. Like, I bet almost nobody watched that Andrew Marr History of Britain thing that was on telly the other week. See, you don't even know what I'm talking about.
I do, yeah. Was it good?
Well, it came and went. It got an audience of one, me. Everyone else was busy looking at Graham Norton.
I think it did quite well, actually.
Silly things in a spangly suit. Graham Norton, there's another one I don't get.
You didn't get old TV either, though. You were saying earlier you didn't get Morecambe and Wise, and you didn't get Dad's Army.
Yeah, but I watched them. No, it's not that I didn't get them. I did get. I understood it. I just didn't laugh out loud. I mean, it takes a certain level of humour to make me laugh out loud, and I maintain that Dad's Army is an enjoyable experience, but it's just that you are in the company of friends. It's like going down to the pub with your mates.
It's cosy, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not laugh out loud funny. It's just warm, which is pretty much how I used to feel about Morecambe and Wise. Apart from it was the humour of repetition. Every time he'd come out in a costume, it would be, you know, your short, fat, hairy legs and slap in the face, and Eric would be wearing a giant whatever it was that he was wearing, just for comic effect. And the comedy of repetition now has completely taken over, such that there's no comedy programme on TV that's not about repeating the same thing over and over and over again.
Catchphrases.
Yeah, which is like Laurel and Hardy. When their hats fall off, you know before they're going to do it that they'll put the wrong hat on, and then there'll be much confusion for the next minute or so. But they do the same thing in every film, and it's funny because you know it's coming. Like the one thing that seems to be dividing people, and I'm seem to be coming on the again. I'm out of touch with the majority opinion. Is the Harry Enfield and Paul Whitehouse?
It's patchy, isn't it?
But yeah, and when I first saw it, I thought, no, this is rubbish. How disappointing! Because Harry Enfield, I remember, was a very funny man. But when you see the same jokes over and over and over again, almost despite myself. Because I don't really go for those programmes about repetition. Fast Show and all those leave me completely cold. But despite myself, I found myself enjoying it. Wrong again!
Nick Abbott.
Have you ever been to court?
Not for something I've done.
Well, why'd you go?
Part of a radio course, I went to see the Old Bailey.
You studied radio?
I did.
How's that going?
I'm still learning. How do you think it's going?
Oh, super on this end.
Thank you.
Really? What's the study about radio?
Well, I did a course at Goldsmiths, and we had an ex-LBC presenter as our teacher.
Right.
He used to be IRN's court reporter. So Tim Crook. He used to do overnights. He was very good. Nice man.
And so you get taught to do what?
Well,
is it like a media course?
Yeah, it was media and communications. It was quite a good media course, not like a Leicester de Montfort University kind of course.
Well, that's an outrageous thing to say.
Oh dear, never mind.
Well,
a friend of mine did media there.
Right.
And he sells mortgages now, I think. So probably earns a lot more money than I do.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Media courses are generally frowned upon in the industry, though, aren't they?
I think so, yeah.
Are they? Because I ridicule them, for, you know, because for lack of other things to do. But I didn't realise that people in the media think that it's a waste of time.
Yeah, it's because the best way to, I think, I'm a graduate, but I didn't do a media course. I did an arts course. And
now that seems very vague.
Yes.
Almost as though you're ashamed to say it.
Politics in American history.
Right. Oh, that'll be useful.
Yeah, but it shows an ability to learn, and then you learn the skills on the job.
Yeah.
And the thing is with people who do media courses is that they're taught by people who didn't necessarily make it in the media, so they decided to teach it instead.
Well, I thought that, but I didn't want to say it.
He did work in radio for 30 years.
Right.
So for RN and LBC, so he was quite good.
I think it's the exception to the rule, though.
Yeah. I mean, we did have John Simpson. Someone went to a book signing he did, and he was slagging off media courses, and then the person that was on my course went and spoke to him, and he said, oh, we all know that's okay, that one's a different one.
John Simpson, he's this fellow that used to be the political reporter of the BBC, right? Yeah. He's funny. He is properly funny, that bloke. He's one of those people that you just look at him and he's funny. I mean, he can be presenting, serious political issues, but you think, oh, there's going to be a joke here somewhere. Fortunately not. Only when he appears on Have I Got News for You, the programme that used to be funny. Can you remember back that far?
In the backs of my mind, yeah.
So you went to court just for the experience of it, to see what happens in court?
Yeah.
As part of a media studies course?
Yeah.
Why are the two connected? Or is it...
Well, because it was radio reporting and doing court reporting, and he thought it would be a good experience to go in and sit in a trial for a bit.
And were you impressed with the majesty of the law?
It was very magisterial. I mean, it was the Old Bailey, so it was quite good. Nice place to go in and have a look round.
Yeah. And what was your impression of it? Did it seem like a place where an honest person would get a fair break?
Well, the trial we sat into was one. They were doing the summing up, and I had no idea what was going on. They were just referring to all of these clauses in the charges, and yeah, it just went straight over our heads.
Does it make you glad that you haven't been called up yet?
I'm very glad.
No one I know has either. Does that even work anymore?
Someone who works downstairs for Hart had to do it a little while ago.
And if they call you, do you absolutely have to do it? Or can you kid on that you're like some sort of foaming Nazi who would gladly have anyone shot that is dragged to court because, mud sticks, and if the implication is that they're guilty, then they must be. That's what I would do. I'd just kid on like I'm a loon. Just anything to get out of it. Because you say yes, or rather you heed the call, and you never know, you could be there for the rest of your life. I mean, it could be one of those cases that drags on forever. And it could be one of those city cases that's just all about the financial misdeeds of someone in some bank somewhere, and you just want to pull your hair out. It would be so boring. So there's got to be a way out of it. Did you not find out how?
Whenever I get the call, I'll find out how.
Right, okay.
And hope I don't.
Let me just take this before I go on. Belvedere. Hello, Pauline.
Oh, hello, Nick. Nick, you've been a bit sort of talky, saying about John Simpson being the funny guy. Are you confusing him with John Sargent? He's the funny guy who used to be
That's right, John Sargent. Who's John Simpson?
He's sort of head of foreign correspondence, isn't he, for BBC?
I think she's right.
I can't picture him. John Simpson.
White-haired?
Yeah.
Always wears a flak jacket. Yes, that's the fella. Yeah, not John Simpson. He's not funny. Well,
no,
he may be in his private life. John Sargent is the correct answer. Well, thank goodness for you, Pauline.
So do I get a gold star then? Nick?
Yes, you do.
And also, Nick, you're on about what did you last watch on BBC, which I enjoyed.
Yeah.
I can go back 2 years now, and the last thing I watched on BBC, which I thoroughly enjoyed, was Blackpool.
Blackpool?
Did you ever watch that?
What's that?
With David Tennant and David Morrissey, Sarah Parish.
I've never even heard of it.
Oh, it was a brilliant series. It's a 6-week series. I even got it on DVD.
And that was right. So you paid for it twice.
Yes, yes. I enjoyed it so well. At the time, my video was out of action, so I couldn't record it, so I eventually bought it on DVD. I thought it was such a wonderful production.
And that was the last time you watched the BBC?
Anything decent on BBC.
Right. Well, keep paying the...
licence fee.
Yeah.
But I do listen to the radio.
All right. Okay, thanks a lot, Pauline.
Okay.
Cheers, my dear. Ta-da. Yeah, not John Simpson. He's unamusing.
No.
Well, to my knowledge.
I was kind of thinking that, but then I wasn't too sure, so I didn't say anything.
Right. And how did he come into the conversation?
Going, media courses, my one being okay.
Right. And what did you pass with?
2-1.
A 2-1? I got a 2. Oh no, I got a 2-2. Oh, your 2-1 beats my 2-2.
Yeah. It's top trumps of degrees.
Yes. Jurors in court are more likely to convict defendants they regard as... Guess. Jurors are more likely to convict defendants that they regard as... This is something that psychologists from Bath the Spa University... I've never heard of it. They've given 96 student volunteers a fictitious account of an old lady being mugged and robbed. Each volunteer was given a picture of one of 4 defendants. And they found that jurors are more likely to convict defendants they regard as...
Lower class than they are.
No.
Male?
Male.
If they regard the defendant as male.
Yeah. Good guess. No. It's a shocker, this one. Any ideas?
Stupid.
Stupid. No. It's worse than all of the things that you just said.
Ugly.
Ugly is the right answer. Jurors are more likely to convict defendants they regard as ugly, this research says. Isn't that shocking?
Very.
Sitting here shocked.
What Abbott?
Each volunteer was given a picture of one of 4 defendants, and 2 were rated as very attractive by a separate group of students, and 2 were considered ugly, or homely, in the words of the researchers. Huh. That's a much nicer way of putting it, isn't it? I'm homely. The less attractive individuals were almost 50% more likely to be considered guilty. That's appalling. I mean, that's just, that calls into question the entire legal system, doesn't it?
Maybe we shouldn't be so concerned about taking away jury trials and...
Yeah, exactly. Asked about the extent of their guilt, the average rating for the physically attractive defendants was about 2 on a scale of 0 to 5, when 5 was the most guilty, they must die. And for the ugly, so 2 for the good-looking ones, and 4.4 for the ugly ones. So they didn't even really think about it. They just, and it wasn't that they were wavering. You're definitely guilty if you're ugly. So
I thought you were looking at me there.
Well,
thank you.
Anyone who is homely and is going to court is screwed, basically, under this magnificent system that we've got now. When participants were asked to sentence the guilty up to a minimum of 10 months in prison, the attractive muggers were given 4 months, and the ugly ones got 7. Just by dint of being homely. I'm outraged. But there's nothing we can do about it. Right, so what we talked about so far? We've talked about... There's one list. Go on. Chip in.
Life on Mars?
Yeah, Life on Mars. Oh, right, okay, I'll add that one. Life on Mars.
John Simpson or John Sargent.
Homeliness, recycling, papers on trains, and the
disgustingness of that guy in the train.
Therein, yeah.
Vinegar's medicinal properties.
Oh, vinegars, that's right. John Prescott, agents, politicians, global warming, credit cards, stamps, life on Mars, mortgage lenders, tourism, Paul Ross, and the giant amount of money that he's earning in America. We still haven't figured that out. I said 20. Airlines, that's right. First class. Don't drink champagne in the air unless you are convinced that the wind, the air conditioning will, you know, remove any noxious substances that may result. So that's about 50 topics in 3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
No wonder I'm exhausted. There you go, Ian. Top that.